Hello and welcome to Holmdel High School Guidance Department's annual College Connection program. I'm Mr. DeStefano. I want to thank you for joining us on behalf of the rest of our counselors, Mr. Flores, Ms. Phelps, Ms. Marasco, Ms. Vona, and Ms. Wilson. We're joined today by 9 recent alumni who we can't thank enough for offering to share their college experiences thus far, as well as some thoughts on the admissions process from their own senior year. Typically, we invite these alumni to the high school and conduct this program live in the auditorium in front of our senior class, but obviously that's not possible this year. COVID is affecting different colleges in different ways, so our panelists have a variety of valuable experiences and perspectives to share. Some have been on campus, while others spent the fall semester learning virtually from home. Hopefully, today's program will provide a glimpse of college life and help our students prepare for their own transition to college. I want to begin by asking each panelist to share their name and the college they attend, as well as their major and a brief description of their college experience this past semester. Lily, how about if you start us off?
I'm Lily Towell. I go to Temple University. I'm a psychology major, and I've been living on campus, but I'm fully online.
Great. Allie?
I'm Allie. I go to Syracuse University. I'm also majoring in psychology, and I have also been living on campus, but I kind of had hybrid classes where some would be in person, some would be online, kind of depending on the COVID cases at the time. So I have a little bit of both.
Great. Juliana?
Hi, I'm Juliana, and I go to Rutgers University, and I'm a social work major. And right now I'm learning virtually from home, but next semester I will be on campus, but it'll still be all virtual.
Okay. Corinne?
Hi, I'm Karine Gallo. I go to the Rutgers Business School, but I'm an undecided major. I was at home in the fall, and I'm also going to be at home in the spring, so all my classes are remote.
Okay. Spencer?
Hi, I'm Spencer Davis. I go to Bowdoin College. I'm planning on double majoring in chemistry and economics, and I was on campus last semester, and I had my first year seminar in person, and all of my other classes were virtual.
Joanna?
Hi, I'm Joanna. I go to New York University, and I'm studying applied psychology. And for my fall semester, I was living in the dorms, but all of my classes were virtual. But for some classes, they were blended or hybrid, and but I chose not to go to them in person.
Paige?
Hi, I'm Paige Shalenko. I go to Washington and Lee University. I'm majoring in neuroscience, and I was on campus in the fall with hybrid classes, some virtual, some in person.
Okay. And Lane?
Hi, I'm Lane Fontana, and I go to the University of Florida, and I'm studying psychology on a pre-law track. And I am at the University of Florida right now, and I went in the fall, but all the classes are virtual.
Awesome. I thought that looked like a dorm room. And Sophia?
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm a junior social work major with a psych minor. I go to Widener University, and in the fall, my classes were all virtual.
All right. Thanks, everybody. As you can tell, we have a good range of experiences so far: on campus, off campus, virtual, in person. We have an upperclassman with us too, so Sophia will be able to offer a different perspective as well. Thank you all for joining us. The first question I wanted to ask is for those of you living on campus, what did you find to be the biggest challenge in transition to college life and moving away from home? Lane, you can start. I believe you're the only one who's on campus right now, so you can start with this one.
Yeah, so I would probably say the hardest thing about being in Florida is not being close to my family. Like, I'm not in driving distance, so it's definitely an adjustment. But I like being on campus, like a lot. As being down in Florida, a lot of things are more open than it is up north. So I feel like it's been good. It's been a good experience, even though it has been a bit of an adjustment just being away from home, definitely.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else who's been on campus, even if you're learning virtually?
Yeah. So, oh, sorry. So I've been on campus, and Syracuse is about like 4.5 hours, give or take, from home, which I think is a really good distance because it is driving, but you also feel like you're like kind of living on your own, like away from home. I would say the biggest challenge living on campus would probably be for me was just kind of like making your entire world like in your dorm. Like it's kind of like a small space. So I would say that that was kind of the biggest difference for me. But other than that, I'm really grateful to be able to like live on campus at all. So
Thank you.
I'd say one of the biggest challenges is not being able to really depend on anyone. So when you're at home, you're able to kind of depend on your parents for food and being able to go home and everything, but it's harder now when you're at college. You kind of live on your own schedule, so that also like works in with your classes and your homework, and you kind of have to like be able to manage time a lot better.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next question. To any of you who are living at home, how has that experience been for you so far? Does your college plan on returning to in-person learning this school year, or is there any plan for that going forward?
For me, I mean, I'm trying to look at the positives. I mean, I'm getting a home cooked meal like every day, which is good. And it's like much more comfortable. I don't have to like worry about if I'm gonna make it to my class on time, but it's been a little difficult because like it was hard meeting people and working with other people in my class on homework and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It's been a struggle sometimes, but other times like I'm trying to look up. Most of my classes are remote. I think most of the classes in my school next semester are going to be remote too. So I don't know when we're going back in person.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a good point that as freshmen, it's even tougher for you guys being home because you didn't have the chance to be on campus and meet people and make friends yet, and have that experience. So definitely challenging, and it's good that you're making the most of it, looking on the bright side. I think I cut somebody off. Who was next?
Yeah, me. I think there are pros and cons of living at home. Like, I get to see my family every day, which is nice, but I don't really have a big workspace and it's kind of distracting. But you can make friends at home. It's not impossible.
Mhm.
I've made friends online, like just reaching out to people, and people are kind of in the same boat as you where they're nervous and they just want to get that college experience and they all want to make friends. So like everyone's in the same boat as you and everyone's super nice. And even if you are at home, you could still make friends.
That's a really good point. Anyone else have anything they want to share on this one?
I'll just speak to, I live off campus, so, living off campus is pretty much living at home. You don't have the class and the dorm experience. Last year I was in a dorm with 6 other people, and it was like an apartment style dorm. And that was really nice because there was a lot of opportunity to like share thoughts, and like a lot of the girls were the same major. So this year it's a little different because if you're struggling in your class, it's a lot harder to like reach out and get help. You have to send an email, you have to attend like virtual office hours. It's just the hands-on part of school is just not as like prevalent right now. So it makes it a little tougher to learn.
Thank you. All right, next question. And this is kind of ties back into number one, right? And I guess it's Lane. There's not that many people on campus, but how has COVID affected your life on campus? What kind of restrictions have there been? How has it affected your day to day?
I mean, definitely we have to wear the masks. So we wear the mask in the hallways and then like in different school type of buildings. It's definitely just affected I guess my college experience experience just having in-person classes, meeting people in my classes, talking with my professors, and actually having like a relationship with them, which is kind of hard because I am at such a big school. So having those smaller classes is kind of like the thing I need in order to get like recommendation letters and stuff like that. So I think like last semester I was in a class with 1,500 students and we're all online, and I don't have like much relationship with my teacher. So I think that's probably one of the hardest things about COVID and like the restrictions. Yeah, but just wearing a mask probably everywhere is just definitely different. We don't have to wear it outside, but I know some schools do make you wear it outside. So that's mostly the restriction.
You can stay unmuted because I was about to ask about roommate experiences, and I think I saw yours leave the room a few minutes ago. I'm glad she left, so you don't have to talk about her with her behind you. But how has your roommate experience been so far? And then anyone else who's not on campus, you know, if you were paired with a roommate, is that somebody who you know, and you know, how is that going?
So I'm having a great roommate experience. I really love my roommate, but it is kind of difficult us both being on classes at the same time. Like she was right behind me, and especially when I was like rushing a sorority, like I would hear her in the background. So it's kind of distracting a little bit, and then definitely like having someone else to live with, like you don't really have that. But I also was a twin for a little. I mean, I'm a twin, so I had to live with someone like every single day. So I guess it's kind of different for me, but like having a roommate isn't that bad. Like I know a lot of people sometimes have not so great experiences, but my experience has been really good.
Good. Did you get to choose your roommate there, or was it, how did you end up with that roommate?
So I went on Facebook, and that's how usually people get their roommates. They just go on Facebook and then like they match or like DM or like just message people and say like, do you want to be roommates basically? But mine wasn't random or anything, so we met online.
Gotcha. Now, has anybody else, even if you're not on campus, have you been, or if you have been on campus, tell me about your roommate. If you haven't been on campus yet, have you been paired with somebody? Do you know who your roommate's going to be when you go back to campus?
For my sorry.
You could go.
Oh, okay. For my roommate experience, originally, like NYU, you're not, it's like totally random, but this year because of COVID, obviously they wanted everybody to be like more comfortable with who they were going to be like living with. And so I got to choose my roommate, and we had like maybe like 2 short conversations on Instagram, like we like we asked each other like to be roommates, and like it was like really nerve-wracking, but we kind of both took a chance, and like we're so close now, and everything has been like really smooth sailing. And she's from Toronto, so over winter break it was like almost like a long distance friendship kind of thing. But honestly, like the biggest transition into having a roommate is like knowing to communicate and like being comfortable, like actually vocalizing little things. Like she had earlier classes than me, so her alarms would be going off in the morning, and she like wouldn't wake up to them. So I would always wake up to them, and like I would talk to her about it, and then like she's gotten better at like waking up to the alarms. But it was like something that we laughed about. It wasn't like an awkward kind of like situation, because like we were very upfront about everything that, you know, cleaning, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Adding on to what Joanna said, I think like luckily me and my roommate get along really well, and we have like super similar interests. One of the main things that was kind of an adjustment was like different sleeping schedules, and it's kind of hard to say when you're like connecting with someone online, like you sum up your sleep schedule, but like that's really subject to change, especially in college with, you know, like different, I don't know, like different activities that you do and stuff. So I'd say like she sleeps later than I do. So it was like, I didn't want to like wake her up and stuff like that. But overall, like I got really lucky with my roommate. Like we have a really open communication and we get along super well, similar interests. And yeah, I really can't complain about my roommate situation. I know that it's kind of difficult for people that are like fully online and doing it from home. But Syracuse, you can still like have a roommate and stuff, or even a quad.
So what I advocated before was that basically you can make friends at home even though it's in the virtual environment. Originally Rutgers was gonna let everyone dorm in the fall. So me and my one friend, we met through Facebook, like Lane, and Rutgers actually has like special kind of dorming houses, like the honors college and like LGBTQ friendly houses. So me and my one friend were actually going to dorm in an LGBTQ friendly house, but that didn't work out. So next semester we're actually dorming in the honors college together. And it's going really well. Like we keep in touch every day and we have a lot of similar interests. And it's not impossible to find a roommate. You just have to reach out and put yourself out there. Like I'm a really shy person, but there's always someone out there that's like you and has similar interests to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of going away to college is about stepping out of your comfort zone, and the whole roommate situation is a big piece of that for sure.
So I can kind of speak to being on campus, like my freshman year. So I actually had a pretty weird roommate situation freshman year. So we met at an accepted students day, and we kind of like decided like immediately that we were going to be roommates because we were both like, oh my gosh, we're going random. We don't want to go random. Let's just room together. So we agreed to do that. We like went to the office of admission, like housing for like that day and like decided to be roommates. And I came to find out that she was super neat and very structured. And I am not like that. So it was like it was definitely an adjustment because I would want to have a friend over and she would like get really annoyed about it. She'd like leave and then she'd be like, you kicked me out of the room. So you have to like definitely communicate with your roommate and make sure that like there's guidelines and things set up so that, you know, you're on the same page when situations occur.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Anybody else with any roommate experience, even if it's somebody that you haven't actually lived with yet?
I live with 3 other girls in like an apartment style, off-campus dorm type thing, and there's a little tension between us. Like there's one girl that always leaves, and it's a little interesting, our dynamic, but it's just like what everyone has said, like you just have to keep communicating because it's with little things. Like one girl is really neat, and then it keeps going and keeps going, and people will kind of like hide things. Like if somebody does something that the other person doesn't like, then like they'll usually just hide it, but then we always try to like get it out there. Like I always try to like make people talk. So it's just another thing, you just really have to kind of keep communicating it, or else it's just going to end up in like a big fight, especially with 4 girls in one like really tiny apartment. It's just doesn't work out all the time. And it's definitely going, it's getting fine, but it's not always going to be like perfect, your first roommate experience, but you just have to learn how to like dodge those situations that could come up later on.
Finding ways to coexist, even if you're not going to be best friends. Anybody else on that one?
Yeah, I can add something really quickly. So my experience at Bowdoin was actually a little bit different. So they assigned roommates to some people, and then because of COVID, they actually gave some people single dorm rooms. So I was actually in a double by myself, which was a little bit strange because I had like 3 rooms to myself and 2 beds and double of everything. But yeah, it was strange. But I was assigned a neighbor. And if I'm being honest, we didn't really talk that much. But what Bowdoin also did was they assigned core groups of about 20 people. So we did like a lot of events together, played games together, and I came really close with a lot of people in that area. So I was living in a building, so it was 4th and 5th floor was a core group, And that's how I sort of got to know a lot of people. I was also on the swim team, so I knew people through that. But I would say, yeah, it's definitely possible to make friends in these situations. You just have to put yourself out there and be really open to different people and just understand that it takes time.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next question. Regarding classwork, how is the classwork and or the stress level academically different from high school?
So I think it's, sorry.
Sorry, you can go.
So I think it's just different in the sense that you definitely have to manage your time more because there's like distracting factors. Like, oh, your friend group's hanging out, but like there's not like your parents aren't there to like pull you back. Like, no, you like do your homework before you like go hang out. Like that's your choice at that point, and you have to make the right decision sometimes, and sometimes it's a hard one. So you definitely have to. I usually like write all my stuff in a planner like at the beginning of the semester, because the difference from high school to college is that they give you most of your work up front, like in the beginning of the semester. So it's kind of nice because you're able to like plan out your semester a little bit and like see like, okay, I have this due next week, but like this week I don't really have anything due, so maybe I'll hang out with my friends, you know, this day. And you really just have to plan your life kind of around school and make sure that you're being like, I don't know, strategical with it.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, adding on to what she said, it's really true that like you need to be your biggest advocate at college. Like no one else really cares about your grades except for like your parents and your family. But at the school, like it's up to you to like make your grades as good as you want them to be. But I say this all the time that I really do feel like Homedale prepared me actually really well for college. The workload, in my opinion, was kind of like easier. I thought, I just think that Homedale was like, it really did prepare me super well. But yeah, like she said, it's just time management. And I am not normally the most structured person when it comes to like schoolwork and stuff. But I think having a planner, writing things down, and like plugging things into a calendar makes it so much easier. And I think that's kind of like the step you need in order to really advance yourself.
Oh, sorry. You can go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can touch on the coursework itself. In my experience in college, there were so many more essays than high school. It was really a different type of, I had a lot of humanities classes, and in high school, I feel like a lot of things were more black and white, whereas if you're taking like calculus, you either know what you're doing or you don't for the most part. And with essays, it's very subjective. So your grades are almost dependent on like the professor, and there's a lot of like gray areas. And in terms of like assignments, I had a lot more big assignments than little ones. And in high school, I felt like there were a lot of opportunities to like get my grade up or like focus on the next assignment if you don't do so well on another one. Whereas in college, you might have 5 for the entire class. So it's important that you really like stay on top of things and again, like have a planner and keep track of your assignments, because like if you only have 5, each one really matters. So
yeah, I'd add to that. So I think that the workload really wasn't as bad as Homedale up until finals week. So finals week I found was really challenging, especially because you only have like 1 or 2 assessments, at least for me, in a class. So finals could be worth as much as 30% of your grade. So I'd say definitely manage your time and try and study in advance. So like 2 to 3 weeks in advance before finals, because I know some people that sort of pushed it to the limits and then they do like all-nighters like 3 days before finals. So I definitely say time management is key, but I think Homedale did a good job at teaching time management, at least in my experience. So I think it was a little bit easier than in high school.
Good.
I just wanted to add how it also like the stress level and the amount of work you have also depends on the classes you choose for the semester. Now, for like a lot of freshmen, I know that for some majors at least, it's like laid out for you. But for some majors like myself, like I kind of got to like choose, like there was like a guided kind of thing, like a guideline that we would follow, but like you could still choose within each one what kind of classes you want to take. So knowing what you can handle and what you can't, and like just being honest with yourself really can set the difference between having a really stressful semester versus having like a good balance of like maybe two hard classes, one like elective, and then like one that's like for your major or something. That's just like an example. But knowing what kind of workload that you can handle yourself, that you can organize and like actually do well in is like super important.
For me, it kind of happened where I would have like a couple weeks of not a lot of work and then 1 week where all my assignments were due. So that would get like that week would be stressful, but I found that as the semester went on, when I organized my time and kind of wrote it out, tried to work on the assignments in the weeks that I didn't have a lot of work. So that 1 week where all the assignments were due, it was really just turning them in and just kind of like looking over them again. So I know everyone said it, but like definitely time management and like write everything down is so important.
Yeah, I think sometimes in high school you take advantage or you take for granted that the teacher's telling you when everything's due and making sure you're on pace with everything and you should be here or this is the progress you should be making. And then all of a sudden that disappears when you go away to college sometimes and it's all on you. So I think that's a big piece of the adjustment for sure. Anyone else want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, don't assume like Rutgers, it's a state school. Don't assume it's going to be easy just because it's a state school. And your professors aren't like high school teachers where they're going to keep on updating you on your assignments or like give you extra credit. Your professors kind of, I'm not going to say they don't care, but they do care. They just have so many students to keep up with that you're not going to establish a relationship with every professor, and your professors aren't always on top of you like your parents or teachers are. Like some classes, like at Rutgers, for example, you can have like 500 students, and you just can't establish a relationship with every professor, and you kind of have to work on time management and setting up a schedule like everyone else said.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. We've kind of already answered the next question I was going to ask about time management. And then the next one was, in what ways do you feel high school has helped to prepare you for college? So we've kind of discussed that already, but does anyone have anything else they want to add to that? Different ways that you feel like Holmdel High School might have prepared you for college that you might not have expected or realized was happening?
I know Allie said it before, but like I agree. Homedale is like it really does prepare you. Like I feel like the amount of work they give, like I noticed like people in my classes are just like falling behind, especially in like the English classes, which I was surprised. Like we would do peer review stuff and like their writing was just not what I was used to seeing. Like when we would do peer review stuff in the high school, like it was, I don't want to say it was better, but it was very different. So I feel like the teachers themselves, like they pushed us like to the right level, where college I thought was going to be a lot worse, but I was like very prepared for it. So.
Well, if you guys want to make someone's day, email one of your high school teachers and tell them that, because they'll probably like to hear that.
I'd say even with somehow like being pushed out of your comfort zone to go out and kind of like make new friends and things. I feel like somehow Homedale kind of helped us with that. Just with different ways of being able, like going into high school and making new friends. Like I find myself doing the same things like when going into college and trying to make new friends. So it's pretty much all the same thing. It's just you pushing yourself.
Definitely. All right. So now let's pretend that I am a high school senior going into college next fall. I kind of wish that I was. What can I do to make sure that I have the best freshman year possible academically, socially, otherwise? What kind of advice would you give maybe to your own senior high school self from last year?
Yeah, so
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. I would say the most important piece of advice I could give would be don't stress out too much. Don't stress out. Don't stress out about grades or the social situation. Just go into it with an open mind and be very open when you're there. That's basically how you meet a lot of people, and just know that home dope prepared you well. So sort of just let things happen and continue habits. Don't really change who you are. I think you should stay true to your roots no matter really what happens in college, and you should be fine.
Academically, I would say get a calendar, whether it's like a phone calendar or like an actual desk calendar or a planner. If you're the type to like want to color code it, or if you just want to like do whatever, just write down, have somewhere like what you have to do, your schedule or something. Because I feel like if you don't have that somewhere along the line, you're gonna forget something, and then you're gonna be like a little upset at yourself that like, oh, it was such an easy thing to remember and I didn't remember. And then socially, like how Spencer just said, like keep an open mind and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Like especially right now with COVID, it's like so much harder to make friends. And like I'm in New York, so I expected to meet so many people. And like I was able to make a lot of friends like within my dorm or like going to like the lounges to like study and do work. But you still kind of have to like put yourself out there, which back to like the question before, but like Homedale did help prepare me for that a little bit. But also one thing that is a lot different from high school is that, you know, in high school at Homedale, like we all kind of grew up in the same area, hearing the same thing, like similar circles, like running around each other and stuff. But in college, especially if you go to a big college like Rutgers or NYU, you're going to meet so many different people with so many different opinions, perspectives, ways of thinking, and being able to like respect how other people see things or feel can go a long way when you're trying to make new friends or just trying to meet new people in general.
Yeah, I would say to just remember that like it will not be perfect. There will be ups and downs, and you have to remember that like it's the same way for everyone. Like you can see someone on social media and it makes it look like they're having like this perfect experience, but truly like no one is. Like be it academic wise or social, like there's always going to be a day where you're like not having the best day ever, and that's super normal, and like you should expect that. But just remind yourself that like everything is going to pass. Like you can only keep moving forward. And I would just say, I would also tell the senior to utilize that first week, because the first week I would say is when like literally social cues just like don't exist. You can actually like walk up to people and just like insert yourself, and no one will give you a second look, because those people probably just met too, you know? Like I would say that first week is when you could really like do the most and make as many friends as you can, and just like really just drop your ego, because everyone is in the same boat. So yeah.
What I'd like to say is, don't just choose a school because of the prestige. Choose a school where you feel like you're going to be at home, where you feel like you're going to find yourself a good community. Academically, I would say that you should definitely make a schedule for time management. And in regards to social life, if you lose yourself, it's okay. You have so much time to find yourself. College is all about finding yourself. And you just kind of have to put yourself out there, even if you're shy. Sometimes it won't turn out as well as you want it. Sometimes it will. Like, I established some pretty great relationships. And then sometimes, like, people just wouldn't really respond that much or put much in. So it's kind of like put in what others put in. And also, like others have said, just keep an open mind and accept everyone for who they are. And also, I'm just gonna plug this in. find a school with a good Office of Disabilities if you're disabled, because not all schools have a good Office of Disabilities. Like Rutgers has a great Office of Disabilities. I literally have no complaints about it, but definitely find a school with a good Office of Disabilities where they'll actually do their job and accommodate to your needs.
That's awesome advice, Juliana. Thanks. I think you're right. A lot of people get caught up in like the name brand of the school or the highest ranked school, but it's so important to find the place you want to call home and the place that's going to be able to, satisfy any needs that you have as a student. Anybody else want to answer that question, or we'll move on?
I'd also just say, like, I know people get a little nervous to go online and try to make friends, but like I found my best college friend over Instagram. Like she DM'd me on Instagram. So it's just, that's kind of how to really do it right now with COVID. My boyfriend added me on Snapchat and I'm at his house right now. And it's just like, it's the easiest way to find people in college. And that's just how I've made my connections. Like it's hard to go up and meet people on campus. Like 2/3 of our on-campus students left. And so it's really bare around campus. So that's just kind of how I meet people, is online. So it's you just kind of have to do it. Just say hi online and you can make a really good friend there.
That's great advice. Thanks.
This is adding on to what Ali was saying before about how the first week, like, really utilize it, because it's easier than everybody expects, like, to make friends. Because if you do have the privilege of still being on campus and being able to kind of go out, like, I met a lot of my closest friends now, like, at a park, and like you just literally go up to somebody and you're like, hi, I'm Joanna, like, what's your major? Like, what dorm are you in? Like, I've met people from like other colleges too, but I'm also in New York, so that's a bit of a different circumstance. But it really can just be as easy as like introducing yourself, whether it be in person, just saying, hi, I'm Joanna, like, what's your name? Like, what dorm are you in? It doesn't have to be so like elaborate or anything fancy. And if it's on Instagram, just say like I know that a lot of colleges had like a class of 2024 page, and then like you could meet each other there and like you write out like some of your interests or something. Like I met so many people just like by receiving or sending DMs on Instagram or Facebook and being like, hey, like I saw you wrote like blah blah blah, like oh, I'm studying like applied psychology too, like something, and then make plans, and then boom, friends.
You got to play the hand you're dealt. When you're not running into people in the student center and having conversations like that. You have to kind of use the resources that you have now with everything online. I wanted to ask a kind of a more technical question on the academic side about like registering for classes. In high school, you meet with guidance in the spring and you fill out the course registration form and pick your classes. Can you explain maybe the differences in high school or in college with how you sign up for your classes each semester?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. So you have like an advisor. Instead of a guidance counselor, you have an advisor for your major. So I was bio pre-physical therapy my freshman year. And I had an advisor, and basically what they would do is they would help you plan your course load so that you would finish on time, like graduate on time. And like for my school, we use like this thing called student planning, and it's a website, and you can basically like see how many seats are left in the class, see what class you need to take, and then, like register for it. And at my school, you get like a registration time. So let's say it's like Thursday the 2nd at like 2:00, and like you have to be on at that time so that you like don't miss your seat in that class. Because there's like only a certain amount of seats available per class.
I would say, I don't know if it's, I know it's like this at other big schools, but registering for classes was very stressful. Because there's so many students at my school, just everyone wants the same classes. So I didn't get into a lot of the classes that I originally wanted because I am a freshman and it does go by credits and like the amount of credits that you have. So I just kept looking at like we have this like drop ad period, and a lot of people just drop classes like the first week of school. So I would just add classes that I needed. But it's definitely an adjustment, like not having like a counselor that will like help you pick your classes. Although we had that like going into our freshman year, we had someone like pick our classes. Like it's not like that every single time. So like you have to actually like go to an advisor and really like talk with them. But it's hard to get like the advisors because so many people want to get advisors. So at like a big school, I would say it's really hard to register for classes, but as you like move on the years and you get more credits, you're going to have more priority than other people.
Yeah, my experience is the exact same as Lane. Like we both go to big schools and it's kind of up to you to choose your classes and stuff. But because we're freshmen, underclassmen, like we have pretty much the last pick when it comes to these things. And in college, like it freshman to senior could all be in the same class. So everyone's kind of vying for the same things, the ones that look the most interesting and stuff. So it definitely was a stressful experience. But the good news is that every new semester you get older, so your like your choice can like you have more I don't know the word I'm looking for, but you have
Seniority.
like, yeah, exactly.
In school,
Sorry, Lily.
our school, we have a big school too, so it's definitely the same thing. But in the honors college, we have advisors in the honors college that help us, and we get priority registration. So it definitely helps. But with problems with registration, and then we have a lot of other things that kind of halt it and make it worse. And there's always like website crashes because of all the students. So it definitely is stressful. You kind of really have to be on top of it. Like if they tell you be there at 7 a.m., like you better get up and be there at 7 a.m. Because you will like lose your class. But it's definitely something that you just kind of have to be on top of. So like what I usually do is I will go on to like we have a banner and you can look at the class times before you register. And so you can like kind of map out like which times will go on which day. So like what I do is I just kind of like draw it out and make sure that none of the classes will overlap. And then I can just like really quickly put it in like which numbers for which class, the day of registration. So it's just something that like another thing you have to like really plan like a week ahead if you can with your college, so that when the day comes, like you can be the first person there to get all your classes and make sure you get in.
I just wanted to add how registering for classes was definitely like a really stressful time, and like the NYU platform, Albert, is like we would all be like, oh my God, I hate Albert, because that was like the platform and it would always crash and it was so annoying. And like it's like a shopping cart kind of thing. So you add classes to your shopping cart and then you can like validate them. I would suggest using like Google Sheets or like even just like a pen and paper to like what Lily said, like map out what you're gonna do. And on top of that, I would add like one or two alternative schedules, because you're more than likely not going to get the classes that you want because you're a freshman, and it sucks, but that's the truth. And it's really annoying, but definitely reach out to your advisor, because if you go to a big school, advisors are sometimes not as responsive, which is like understandable, but like it's still annoying. And I would definitely suggest using course evaluations that are provided to you by your school for certain professors or courses, whatever it is. Also make sure that you have like prerequisites, because there was like a course I wanted to sign up for spring semester and I found out that I won't be able to take it till sophomore spring. And then Rate My Professor is going to be your best friend too. Definitely use Rate My Professor.
I suddenly feel sorry for kids at NYU named Albert. I don't think we don't have any student athletes on here, do we? Oh, we do. Paige, I'm sorry, and Spencer. Oh my goodness. So I wanted to ask about the experience balancing school and sports and how that's been for you so far.
So for me, I'm actually so glad that I decided to pursue track and field in college. It really has given me just a whole, new team and like new friends and just upperclassmen that like really are there for you and will offer you so much insight about school. And I'm just really glad I just have the team. In terms of balancing academic, sports, and a social life, it definitely is challenging. But honestly, being an athlete helps me be a better student because I have like certain practice times. I have to carve out times specifically for school and specifically for doing other things that I want to do. And it's definitely possible. My school's D3, and I would encourage D3 over D1 anytime, because D1 is more of like your job and it can become overwhelming, whereas D3, you're treated as a student first and then athlete. And it's just a much easier lifestyle. And I've just enjoyed my time being a student athlete.
Awesome. Spencer?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Paige that I would take D3 over D1 any day. There are definitely athletes in D3 that are very good and they're good enough to go D1, but they choose to go D3 for that reason. I would say it's a little bit of a challenge, but it's not terrible to balance social life, academic life with athletics, especially since we are D3. We only had a few practices over the semester because of COVID, and unfortunately, our whole entire season got canceled. But I met some of my best friends through the swim team. I'm actually living in a house with them next semester. So it definitely helps socially, and it's just really a fun time. And I think it's great just to pursue something. If you don't want to do sports, just to look for like a club or activity that you can balance with your academics. And that really just adds to the college experience overall.
Excellent. Thanks. So in terms of college admissions, a lot of our seniors right now are either waiting for decisions or they've gotten the early decisions, early action decisions recently. Some may have received referral letters or rejection letters. Do you have any experience with this? I have a feeling you do. And if so, how did you handle it last year?
Okay, if I'm gonna say something, it's don't let it like upset you for too long. I know it's upsetting, but like just for a couple of days, because if that school didn't take you, that means it wasn't your school. And I know that's hard to see right now because it could be like the one you've been dreaming of, but like you will find the perfect school. And if they rejected you or deferred you, it's for a reason. It means it's not like your school. So it's hard in the moment, but like I promise you're gonna end up in the right place.
That's great advice.
Yeah, I can add to that. So I actually got deferred from Bowdoin. And one of the pieces of advice I can give is a deferral is not a rejection. So a lot of people, and this was actually me included, I took the deferral. I honestly thought that it meant sort of like rejected. So I rushed to apply to a bunch of other schools, but I'd say relax. I mean, everything happens for a reason. I remember talking to a lot of teachers at Homedale High School, and they were saying the same thing. They were saying everything happens for a reason. So you're going to end up at the place where it's best for you to thrive academically and socially. So I just say be patient with the whole process. And if you got rejected or deferred, just take some time to process it, but ultimately move on and apply to other schools and look at the positives and not the negatives of the situation.
Yeah.
I did not have, oh, sorry, Allie. I didn't have any personal experience with it. I did ED, but I will say go talk to Mr. Tuma because last year he gave us a story that was like really, really moved me. I was just in shock after he spent like 25 minutes to like 30 minutes in class telling us that story. And like I will never forget that. Like even if you don't talk to him, I'm sure he will tell you. Like, just go email Mr. Tuma. Like, it's so worth it to hear his story. And yeah.
That is so true. I really agree. If you need like really good advice from like like an older figure, like you should go to Mr. Tuma. But for me, I just remember the process. It honestly is a really like demeaning process, and it's like easy to feel really bad about yourself and compare yourself to others. And that time when everyone is hearing back from colleges at the same time was it's a time. Let's just say that. Like, I was pretty secretive in my process. I didn't really like talking about my top schools or like where I really even applied, just because I didn't like the fear of getting rejected. Like, I didn't want to have to announce that. But I would say that like now, like, you can barely even remember it. Like, it was like 3 months, maybe more, of like obviously a really stressful time, but now it's like it doesn't matter. Like, this too shall pass. Like, you're going to be over that. You, in a few short months, you'll be committed, you'll know where you're going, everything's going to be sorted out, and you just have to keep pushing through and handle it however you want. If you don't really want to share, then you don't have to share anything. I would say just to do it the best way that you know how. If you want to like confide in someone, do that. But like everyone said, you're going to find your home, and just keep looking forward, because soon you'll know everything and like you'll have it all sorted out.
Going off of what I would say, don't, like exactly what she said, don't get caught up in where everyone else is getting in, and if your best friend got into the school that you wanted to and you didn't, because you're going to end up where you're supposed to end up. And you just have to think ahead of like the good months to come, and like you're going to get accepted into the school that you're supposed to be at. So just try and block out the negativity as much as you can.
It's great advice. Anyone else want to speak to that one?
I would just say I got rejected from my top school and I was devastated, but at the same time, you kind of have to look at the schools that do want you, the schools that accepted you and that really want you to come to that school. So I think that not focusing yourself on that rejection and just like being so focused on that one school. I think just really keeping an open mind during the process, because I definitely did not do that. And it did not help me. So I think just really having an open mind and just like being open to any school that really wants you.
All right, excellent. Great advice. Have any of you or anybody that you know decided to transfer schools yet? And if so, can you tell us anything about your or their experience?
My friend, she's also visually impaired like me, and she originally went to a small school in Pennsylvania, and their Office of Disabilities was really bad. Like, they did not do their job at all. So she had to transfer to another university. And she said the transfer process was a lot like applying to colleges in your senior year. It's not really that bad. It's not as bad as the process of transferring in your senior year, but it's kind of like that. Like, you have to write an essay and transfer your credits and show them your resume. But yeah, basically just it's okay if you need to transfer. Like, go somewhere that will support you and that will kind of just feel like you're home. And like I said earlier, just if you're disabled, go somewhere with a good Office of Disabilities. Because if you're not getting the right accommodations, it's definitely going to affect your schoolwork, your social life, your physical health, stuff like that.
Great. Yeah. Excellent advice. Anybody else for that question?
I know one person who's going to like community college right now because they were like, it's not worth it to like go to any because like all the colleges that he wanted to go to were out of state, so it wouldn't have been worth the money to like go out of state and then to not actually be getting the full college experience, which I think a lot of people are thinking of going that route, which like makes a lot of sense. So he said something similar to what she just said, how having to transfer is like very similar to just like kind of repeating that part of senior year where you're just like doing college admissions, but like at the same time doing college work. So I think it's a lot to juggle, but I think if it's truly what you want and everything, then it's going to be worth it.
One of my roommates is actually transferring to a community college for a semester, for like the spring semester, because she's falling behind with the online school. She's a biology major. So it was just really difficult for her. She was moving back and forth between home and school, and helping out with her parents with a move and everything. So it does get difficult to keep on top of the schoolwork. So it's perfectly fine to feel like you need to take a step back and kind of recollect yourself. And that's something that a lot of people like don't realize, is that it's okay to take a break. Even if you don't want to just go to a community college, you could just take a full semester off, which I know like a couple people are doing, is just taking a semester off and working, or just kind of like relaxing, because this is a stressful like period of time for everyone right now. So it's okay to transfer and then come back to school, and people just kind of don't really realize that.
Yeah, because up until now, that was never an option, right? It's a good thing to be aware of. In conclusion, one last question. Is there any other advice that you would give to a current high school senior regarding college, the preparation for it? You know, any questions we didn't ask, or any other advice that you would want to give?
I'm just gonna say, like, since I've been there and done that, like, it's okay to switch your major. Like, at 17, 18 years old, like, you don't know what you want to do sometimes, and it's totally fine. Like, you know, feel it out. If you like it, great. If you don't, there's so many other options that you can choose from, and it's definitely okay to move and change and like warp as like you change through your college experience.
I'd like to say, in addition to switching your major, that's totally okay. The point of college is to find yourself. And if you're ever struggling in college, there's always someone to reach out to. Like Rutgers has a counseling and psychiatric service, and the people there are really amazing. They are so understanding. They can connect you to great support systems. There are groups and individual therapy you can be a part of. And also, what was I going to say? There, if you go to a big school, don't be daunted by it. There are so many small communities you can be a part of. Like I mentioned earlier, there's like LGBTQ friendly housing. You can get in learning communities for specific majors and live with people in the same majors as you. You can be in the honors college. You're always going to find a community in the sense of feeling like you're at home, and there's always someone to reach out to if you're struggling. At the college, you can reach out to a trusted individual, or you can reach out to like the counseling service at the college, because they're there to help you.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, in high school, you have teachers and everybody watching you every day, and guidance counselors who will call you in if something seems off. In college, that's really not the case anymore, right? So it takes a little more self-advocacy to reach out for that help if you ever need it.
I would say that transitioning from a smaller high school like Homedale and then to a big college like NYU, that one thing that I would want to tell seniors right now is that you might be used to like your one solid friend group right now, or like your go-to kind of people, but in college it can be different if you allow it to be. Like you can have so many different kind of friend groups that you do different things with, different interests, and like that's okay. So that's just what I would say to seniors right now, that that's totally normal, and that sometimes it can be kind of weird to juggle, but like it's normal. So
All right, anybody else? All right, well, that's the last question. So we're all done. I want to again thank everybody for joining us today. We had like I said before, a lot of really good perspectives, different grade levels, different living situations on campus, off campus. And, I think you offered a lot of really good insights to our high school seniors and juniors and, everybody who's going to watch the recording of this meeting. So thank you so much. And good luck with everything this next semester. I hope you get to go back in person soon. And thank you again.